Hello everyone, welcome to Rombauer, our Sierra Foothills edition. My name is Richie Allen, I'm the Director of Viticulture and Winemaking, and today I have with me
the Associate Winemaker Michael Code, and I'm fortunate enough to bring to you the joy of wine from the Sierra Foothills, and I look after the facility. At the moment,
the new winemaker up here.
Exactly. I join you from Danville, which is in East Bay, San Francisco, and I've been fortunate enough to join the community up here in El Dorado, which is just a little bit up the hill from here, and hopefully we'll be able to explore some other varieties further up the hill later in life, if I can persuade Richie, that is.
Well, today we're joining you from our Sierra Foothills tasting room. So me and Michael, we're staying in the private tasting room, and behind the camera crew here is the tasting room.
Which is in your shot right now.
They have a slide up, look at that, the beautiful tasting room. So, Sierra Foothills.
Yeah, so we're 1 hour from Sacramento, and we don't want to just be California-centric. We're also 2.5 hours, roughly, from Carson City, and not far from Yosemite and not far from Tahoe. So there's a fair bit around here, but for me, the most important thing, obviously, is wine. And we're on a bit of gold here. And hopefully Richie will take us through what we're going to do next.
Yeah, so just to give you a rundown of what we're going to do today on the show for the next hour. Obviously, we're going to tell you about the Sierra Foothills and our story of how Rombauer ended up here making wine. We are going to taste you through our California Zinfandel, which is very beloved, and we'll get to that a little later. But the most important thing I think about today is the food pairings. And so we're going to cut live to some of our colleagues who are going to be grilling up some dishes for us, which will be the first time the winemaking team's got to have food pairings with the wines rather than just talking about them. So
and the microphone taken away from us.
Yeah, and the microphone taken away from us, so you won't have to listen to us forever. But yeah, I mean that's what we're going to do today. So I guess we'll dive right in and.
Should we have some wine?
Yes,
let's charge our glasses. We've been rude. We got ahead of the curve, but
now's the time to fill up your glass.
Yes, absolutely.
But just to give you a little background on the Sierra Foothills and how Rombauer came up here, in 1990, Kerner Rombauer and K.R. Rombauer, his son, they met a young winemaker from the Sierra Foothills named Scott Harvey. And Scott Harvey was making a bunch of wines up here, knew all the local growers, and basically showed them around and introduced them to everyone. And it was during that time that Kerner got to try a lot of the wines from up here, got to try a lot of old vine Zinfandel, and really started to fall in love with the region. And that was when Kerner decided that if we're going to make a Zinfandel at Rombauer, it's going to be from the Sierra Foothills. And at that time, we were based up here in Amador County. We were working with growers like Gino Rinaldi in his Fiddletown vineyard, which we still work with today, Tom Dillon, just to name a few. But it wasn't until 2010 that we purchased our first vineyard up here. And that was the El Dorado vineyard at Twin Rivers, a beautiful slide up there right now. But I suppose before we jump into that, we should talk about our Zinfandel portfolio.
Yeah, and Richie's being a little cheeky at the moment. We obviously make our classic Zinfandel, which is multi-appellated. But he also touched on our single vineyard appellated wines, which are our Gino Rinaldi Fiddletown Zinfandel, and then our Twin Rivers, which is the estate vineyard across the river and just behind us. And that's the El Dorado Twin Rivers Zinfandel. We obviously also have the Napa Valleys which is made up in St. Helena. And then we have the proprietary Zin as well, which is kind of the creme de la creme, and a little piece of gold, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's the proprietary reserve is a selection of the best barrels from the best lots, and that's a top tier of Zin that we make. But to give you a little more background on how we ended up here in the Sierra Foothills, now after Kerner met Scott and we were purchasing fruit from all these old vine vineyards through the 1990s until early 2000s, and we were working a lot with a particular vineyard named Twin Rivers or El Dorado, but we lost a contract on that vineyard, and eventually that vineyard came up for sale, and that was 2010. So Kerner and myself and KR and a few other colleagues at the company came up here. We looked at this vineyard, but the sad part about it was this vineyard had been left for 3 years. Nothing had been done to it. And so it was in quite a state of disrepair. The weeds were tall on the vines. There was 50 acres of established vineyard, 50 acres of newly planted vineyard, which was in really bad shape, and 50 acres of fallow, which was all weeds. And Kerner was adamant it was a good vineyard. I'm not going to lie, I had my reservations and tried to talk him out of it. But Kerner always said, no, it's a good vineyard, we've made great wine from it before. And he reminded me of the El Dorado Zin. And the El Dorado Zin, which we used to make in the mid-90s until 2001, was actually the first Rombauer wine I ever tried. And it was my second day of work at Rombauer. And I got to go up to Kerner's house in St. Helena and sit on the deck. And we polished off a bottle of El Dorado with the winemakers and the other interns at the time. And I'll never forget it. So I'm glad Kerner was right, because several years later, after a lot of work, nursing that vineyard back to health, spending a huge amount of money retraining, planting, compost, weeding, everything you can imagine, we've turned this vineyard around. And there's a couple of slides up right now. You can see it's up on this mountain plateau, but it took a few years, but yeah, I mean, we're able to make some fantastic wine from it now.
So realistically, what you're saying is that it's a diamond in the rough, and it's really kind of a great selected, highly selected vineyard.
Yeah, it took a while to get there, but when you have a great site, it's always going to produce great wine. So I think I want to just cut to a little aerial video that was shot last fall, just to really give you a close-up of what this vineyard looks like. If we can get that up.
There you go. Look at that. And we're finally back. I mean, I must say, it's not really a far trip, just up behind us, but that was one of the first vineyards that Richie took me to when I was joining the Rombauer family. And I would say it's a real secret. When I first joined the team and he was showing me all the behind-the-curtain stuff, that vineyard is fantastic. It's between two beautiful rivers. You go across the river and it's as crystal clear as you can imagine. There's little trout swimming in there at the moment, and you know, this one that I'm watching is getting bigger each day. And it's a gorgeous little bit of untouched, you know,
gold.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for getting a little tongue-tied. But up on top there, that's the place that I've talked about, where you see those beautiful fluorescent orange California poppies. It's a real,
especially in the spring.
Special spot. So it's beautiful. And which has led to us why we purchased this facility. And this facility, as we said, was about 3 miles from the vineyard. And that's key to us. We wanted a facility that's really close to the vines, which leads to less transportation of the grapes and allows us to more quickly process the grapes, therefore preserving all the hard work that we did in the vineyards and ensuring that fruit quality is at its optimum.
Yeah, I mean, it took us a decade of coming up here, and we used to be pretty quiet. We were almost like a silent partner to the region, bringing all that fruit down to our Napa winery in refrigerated trucks. But after a decade of looking and searching and finding, and with the help of our CFO, Matt, we managed to find this place and bring it to fruition and make it a Rombauer winery. So we now have our second tasting room up in Sierra Foothills.
And we got 20 acres around behind us that are going to be put to the same standard as what we have done up in the Twin Rivers.
Yeah, so the estate vineyard behind us is about to be redeveloped to a state-of-the-art level like we do with all of our vineyards, and a little bit of Zin and a few other little special varietals going in for us to play with here at the tasting room. But if you're ever up in the Sierra Foothills, I would invite you guys to come to our tasting room here. We are open again, obviously with a new way of doing things to ensure the safety of our customers. But if you're ever up this way near Plymouth in Amador, you can come here, or you can always go to the original winery in St. Helena.
Yeah. And so now it's time for us to get into the wine. We've got it poured in front of us, and I've been cheekily having a little sip. Richie's been a little bit of
slow.
Well,
do I need to catch up?
We'll keep that clean, shall we? But essentially, what we see here, this is our California appellated Zinfandel. 42% comes from El Dorado, 32% comes from Amador County, a little bit from Lake County, and a little bit from Napa Valley. And what we're trying to do here is just make a beautiful, soft, opulent wine. All those regions have something different to contribute to the level of this wine. And what we're really striving for is that really nice blackberry jam characteristic on the nose and on the palate, which is very soft and opulent. And it's almost as bold as this personality, because what we need is some concentration and focus. And that's what we don't have right now, but in the wine, we've got that. So
he's paying out all the one-liners on me right now.
Yeah, and The nice thing about this wine is it's not only fruit forward and fruity on the palate, but it's got a really nice lick of, or lots of layers of leather, spice, and it's got a real nice lick of vanilla oak on the finish. Yeah. And it cleans out really well, and it's an absolute cracker.
And if we can get up the slide of the fruit profile, because Zinfandel is such a diverse varietal, you can really plant it in many different climates, from relatively cool to relatively warm, and make different styles of Zinfandel. But we're very much focused on sites that are in warmer climates. And so if we can get that slide up, you can see here the flavour spectrum of Zinfandel grown in different regions, and you can see where we're looking for this warm climate. So the Zinfandel we use in Napa is on the northern end of the valley, which is a lot warmer. The Lake County vineyard we have, obviously Lake County is very warm. It gives us a black pepper character, but also this rich jammy character. And then when you come up here to the foothills, in Amador, you have these old vine vineyards, which make up about a third of the blend, which give us that depth and concentration. And then our El Dorado vineyards, all about blackberry and black jam. And those layers into the wine and give us all those different flavors and gives complexity. And that's, what we're looking for. On the winemaking side, with Zinfandel, it's the basic of the wine, or the base of the winemaking is very similar to how we do our Cabernet Merlot. It's all 100% hand-picked. It's nearly all done at night. There's a slide about to come up of some Zinfandel grapes.
Before you go into that, why would you harvest at night?
Harvesting at night is all about getting the fruit when it's cool. And so if you can pick the grapes at night and get the fruit in when it's cool, it helps retain freshness. And when we get into the tank, we want to cold soak it. So rather than having to try and cool that wine down, or those grapes down, we can use obviously, Mother Nature to keep them cool. We don't have to expend a huge amount of energy. So once that hand-picked fruit is out the winery, it goes through a berry separator, and that's a machine that, rather than smashing the berries off like a conventional destemmer, it actually shakes the berries off. Once those whole berries are off the stems, they go across a series of vibrating tables. It separates out into a thin mat, and then it hits a high-speed belt, which is up on the screen right now. Those green strings there move at about 30 feet per second. And as the berries fly off the end of that belt, it takes a photograph of the grape. And every single grape is photographed. If that grape is not the right size, shape, and color, it's rejected. So we can get rid of green stems, bits of leaf matter, dry leaf. Anything that's not a dark grape is automatically kicked out. If it's a pink berry which hasn't ripened properly, or a sunburnt berry, or a raisin which is shriveled up, that has a different shape, and we can reject that.
And why do you want to reject that?
So what that does is it gives us a better purity of fruit in the wine. And what we've found when we sort the fruit to that level, and we're only getting perfectly ripened grapes in the tank, the character that comes from that vineyard is more pronounced. So the Fiddletown, which has a very distinct raspberry floral flavour.
It's right there.
Right here.
And there's not a lot of it left.
No, there's only a few bottles.
You do a good job.
But that character for that vineyard becomes more pronounced. So El Dorado tastes more like El Dorado. Tom Dillion's block tastes more like Tom Dillion's block. The Fiddletown tastes more like Fiddletown. And by using those optical sorters, we can really increase the fruit intensity into the wine. The main difference here is with our other red wines, they will go to barrel or tank for fermentation. But with Zinfandel, we go entirely to tank. And we use a combination of closed-top fermenters with automatic pump-overs, or open-top fermenters. And really, with Zinfandel, because it has a thinner skin, there's a slide up right now, there's the back of my head pumping over an open top.
We had to get a photo of him doing something.
Yeah, doing some work. Because it has a very thin skin, Zinfandel, if you are really rough with it in the winery, like you are with, say, like a Cabernet or a Merlot, you get a very hard, hollow wine. But if you're very gentle with Zinfandel, like you would be with like a Pinot Noir or any other thin skin red varietal, you can still maintain the elegance of the wine, but still get the depth of concentration. So that mixture of open top and closed top is what we really like. Once it's finished fermenting, or close to finished fermenting, we'll drain that tank off, separate out the free run, and then the skins will all go into a basket press.
And tell me, that basket press, is it a similar mentality to what you do in St. Helena? Is it all about gentle and everything you're talking about?
It's exactly the same as we do with other red wines. All of our reds are 100% basket press, so it's a very gentle way of extracting the remaining wine without getting too much tannin. And that filters through the entire cake, so you get a very clear free run without any solids. And that aeration over the edge of the basket gives you a softer wine as well. That's really one of the secrets of Rombauer's red winemaking program, is that basket press. But what's really important about Zinfandel, I feel, is that you finish that fermentation in barrel. And by finishing that fermentation in barrel and going through malactic fermentation in barrel, you get a better seamless integration of fruit and oak. And it's very integral to what we do. It's a very common technique to use in Australia, where we're both from. Well, South Africa, depending what passport you look at, Michael's.
It just depends on the rugby team and which one wins at the
winning
time.
the World Cup, yeah. But it's also like a technique that it comes from Bordeaux, finishing ferment and barrel back in like the early 1900s. And it just gives you a much better integration. Once it's in barrel, it sits there for about 15 months. It gets one rack in where we draw the clean wine off the top of the solids that are settled out. We then wash the barrel, put the wine back in. It sits there for about another 8 months.
Just before you brush over that, what are the solids you're talking about?
So wine, when you first go to barrel, it's full of yeast, suspended yeast and grape matter and malolactic bacteria. And once the ferment is finished and the malolactic fermentation is done, all those solids settle out over time. And you get a deposit of what we call lees.
So why would you do malolactic fermentation?
So malolactic fermentation is a process where you convert the harsh malic acid, which is green and hard, to lactic acid, which is soft and rich, and that gives you a richer, fuller wine and enhances the varietal intensity of any red wine and also makes it more stable because it's not going to happen in the bottle. So did I get all your technical questions right, Michael?
Yeah, I think so. And also it's just helping us understand what is so paramount to softness. I mean, we've gone through the basket press, we've gone through the key malolactic, racking it off, and obviously most important is finishing fermentation in barrel.
Yeah.
And then, we've briefly touched on the fact that shipping the grapes not too far and just processing them as quickly as you can to enhance that fruit and then ensure great quality wine is made in the vineyard.
Yeah, and Colonel Rombauer, when I first took over, had this philosophy of like, a wine should be drinkable on release. And I think Kerner said it best. When someone tries wine, they go, oh, this will be good in 20 years. I'm going to swear now. And Kerner said that's bullshit. It should taste good right off the bat. And my wife's going to probably send me a text message
getting nuts already.
Say, why did you swear? But that's our philosophy, is like a wine should taste good on release. And if it is good on release, it's still going to age. A wine isn't going to mysteriously get better in the bottle with 20 years if it's not already a good wine. If you can make a wine rich and soft and full, it's only going to get better in the bottle. And so that's why we go to this extraordinary level of care in the vineyard in terms of how we maintain our crops and our canopies and judicious use of water, to how we harvest the fruit, to how we make the wine, how we age the wine, how we bottle the wine, how we get it to our customer here at the tasting room. It's all about preserving that quality from the roots to the bottle so it tastes good for the customer.
And that's why it's so important for us to replant this vineyard. You might look at that vineyard that's behind us, is 20 acres. It's a really nice vineyard. It looks okay, but really from our perspective, we could do a lot better job. And that's why it's so important for us to rip that out and do it again.
Yeah, if we start fresh with a fresh canvas and we can do the soil and land prep in the correct way and get a proper root zone developed within that vineyard, there's no reason why that vineyard couldn't last 100 years and continue to produce high quality fruit. So it's, I've planted a lot of vineyards over the last 17 years at Rombauer, and how we've done it has evolved so much. So I don't want to say we have it down to a science, but the way we prep to plant to ensure we get the right rootstock, match the right soil, with the right amount of compost and gyp and lime to amend the soil has become a real precision for us. And it's when you get it right, it shows.
You're not really passionate about this. I'm not really feeling that.
We can talk about vineyards.
We should start that
in August when we do one of these, because we'll talk about what we're doing at the end of July for next live. I think when we do one in August, we should talk specifically about vineyards, but we'll see if I get my wish.
That's awesome. But what I'm feeling a little peckish.
Yeah, we talked about the food, and it's probably about time to go to grill time.
Yeah, you will see what Joe has caught. And look, don't be fooled by photography. It's a little bit bigger than you would think.
So outside we have Joe Coughlin, who is one of our tasting room hosts here, but also is a winemaker in his own right. And we also have Maria Bell, who is our tasting room lead up here in the Sierra Foothills. So if you come visit here, you'll likely bump into one of these two lovely people. But they both have a very strong passion for food, and Maria has a culinary background. So we're going to cut over to them, I believe.
And we're going to share some joy. Let's go.
We're going to take the glass with us. So, Joe, Maria, you're up.
All right.
Hi.
Happy Rombauer Hour, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you, Richie and Michael, for introducing us out here. We're out at the grill. It's a nice warm summer day up here in the Sierra Foothills. I'm alongside Maria here. We're happy to have you guys along with us. We're just doing a little bit of cooking out here. It's summertime in California, and it's time to grill. So today we're going to do a little bit of food pairing with our Zinfandels. Tell you a little bit about that. We're going to start off with a beautiful pork baby back rib. We're doing that with a nice little blackberry barbecue sauce. We're also doing some grilled halloumi cheese with some vegetables as a nice vegetarian option. Going back to our ribs, though, we want to talk a little bit about the blackberry sauce, and I'm actually going to let Maria talk about that because she made it. So Maria, take it away.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us out by the grill this beautiful 100-degree day. We're excited to be here. And so the blackberry sauce Joe was talking about, we made as kind of an ode to summer. Blackberries grow beautifully here in the foothills, and actually on my property that's about 10 minutes down the road. I have a little homestead, and that's where I picked them today. So what I did is I cooked them down with a little bit of maple syrup, some spices. We kept it pretty light. We didn't want it to compete with the Zin. We kind of wanted it to match a lot of the lovely flavors and fruity quality of the Zin. And then Joe topped the ribs with it like the last 5 minutes of cooking. And then the second dish, we kind of started to plate it already. You'll see here, but we grilled up some halloumi, some summer veg. We chose to do zucchini and tomato, but really any vegetable you love would be perfect for this. And then I made an onion preserve. So to do that, I cooked down a bunch of sweet red onions in a little bit of sugar and just a little bit of vinegar, some thyme, and that just made this like beautiful onion preserve. So I'm gonna go ahead and top off that, and it can kind of just sit off to the side while you finish any other dishes on the grill, or of course if you enjoy a glass of wine with some friends.
And we should mention that all of these recipes are available, Rombauer.com. Go check it out. Maria and I wrote our recipes for today, so you guys can go and follow along with what we've been doing. So I'm over here, I'm just gonna get these ribs kind of going. Pork is my personal favorite to have with Zin. You can do beef, burgers, you can do anything that you want to grill. We'll probably go with Zinfandel. All the smoky qualities that you get out of grilled foods, or if you're doing a traditional barbecue, go very well with our Rombauer Zin, those jammy qualities. A little bit of spice. One thing I recommend though for everybody is you don't do too much spice. If you add too much spice to your dishes, the alcohol in the Zin is actually going to become the predominant flavor. So you want to avoid that, but a little bit of spice is okay. So let me just keep working on this a little bit.
So Joe's kind of working on plating up the ribs here. You'll probably see me off to the side. We actually have a little surprise dish for you we'll talk about in a minute. So.
Surprise dish, yes. Give me 1 second here on the ribs. So another favorite of mine has got to be lamb. We don't have any lamb today, and I know Richie is probably very disappointed that we don't. Another great pairing with Zinfandel. Again, you can grill lamb. A lot of people think, oh, you gotta put it in the oven, but anything you can do in the oven, you can do on a grill, and we're going to show that here in just a second. So, nice little shot of ribs there for you. Maria mentioned a surprise dish, and we're talking about Zinfandel today, but since it's Rombauer, we have to talk a little bit about Chardonnay. And our surprise pairing is going to be a pan-seared Alaskan halibut. We're going to do that right now here. That's going to go along with our Chardonnay. So a little bit of a unique story with the halibut we're searing today. I actually personally caught it in the Gulf of Alaska on a great fishing trip. If you ever get the chance to visit up there, I highly recommend it. It's beautiful. But halibut and Chardonnay are just a match made in heaven. There's a lot of, sorry, my grill turned off here, apologize. Technical difficulties. Don't worry about us.
It happens.
So, back to halibut. Really light, flaky white fish. Goes very well with a lot of different dishes. And we're pairing that with a beurre blanc. The beurre blanc sauce is going to be made with our Sauvignon Blanc. I'm a firm believer that if you're going to cook with wine, it should be with a wine that you actually want to drink. So when you're cooking, you put a little bit in your dish and then you put a little bit in your own glass. And we go from there. So, pan-seared halibut. Maria, would you talk to us a little bit more about kind of some of the ingredients that we get to enjoy up here in the Sierra Foothills.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe's actually putting some local olive oil in the pan, came from some trees right down the road. Thought I'd add a nice little spice to the fish. One of the things too, we just wanted to mention why Beurre Blanc with Chardonnay. It has a lot of creamy components that kind of mirror that creaminess that we love so much about our Rombauer Chardonnay. Yeah, we're just really excited to be cooking that for y'all today.
So Richie went a little bit faster than we were anticipating, so we're playing catch up out here on the grill. So cheers to everyone at home as we go through this little cooking demonstration. Gordon Ramsay, I am not.
We just do it for fun.
So, since we're out here talking about food, let's talk about cooking. Pan-seared halibut. I salted the fish. If you notice, I salted it a little bit later than I wanted to, but you still don't want to salt it too early. If you salt fish too early, it starts to cure. Not a good thing to do. So you salt it right before it goes in the pan. You have a little glass of Chardonnay while you watch it cook, or Sauvignon Blanc, depending on your mood. And we're just going to let it cook for a couple minutes on that side, and then we're going to flip it. As long as my non-stick pan is actually non-stick.
We'll find out.
Almost. So Maria, I got to ask a question.
Oh yeah.
Of the 5 different Zinfandels that Rombauer makes, what is your personal favorite?
You know, and I gotta be honest, I'm sorry to tell you this, but the Eldorado Zin, which we just sold out of the last of in our tasting the other day, that's definitely my favorite Zin. It's sourced about 3 miles down the road. Richie probably mentioned that earlier. A little bit of Petit Syrah in there, and I don't know, it pairs well with every type of food you can imagine. So we'll have some more for you maybe in the fall. Come see us then and we'll talk.
So I have to tell you, I am a personal fan of the Fiddletown.
Oh, definitely.
Grown by Gino Rinaldi up in Fiddletown. It's just a wonderful, fragrant, has a lot of great notes of violet in there. A little bit lighter bodied. What a lot of people think that Zin is supposed to be this big, dark, and rich wine. It doesn't always have to be that. Zinfandel by itself is actually a lighter variety. We often blend it with Petit Syrah to get a little bit more color, a little bit more depth, and more tannin structure out of the wine. But it goes great all by itself, as our Rinaldi, Gino Rinaldi grows at Fiddletown Zin showed you. So right now I'm just going to baste the fish a little bit. You saw me throw some butter, some thyme, a little bit of garlic in there.
Beautiful.
Just going to add that great depth of flavor. So we baste and we baste. It's a little bit harder to talk and cook than you're used to, but we'll get through it. Richie, you can't see Richie and you probably can't hear him, but I'm curious what his favorite Zin is.
I'm going to go with Marie. You can go with the Eldorado. It's that was the first Rombauer wine I ever tried was the 2001 Eldorado Zin, so it has a soft spot in my heart. I hear what you're saying about the Fiddletown of being the most delicate and fragrant of all the wines we make, but there is something about that Eldorado vineyard that is magic. So
there it is. So if anybody didn't hear, Eldorado Zin would be the personal favorite of Richie. And how about Michael? We asked Richie, we got to ask Michael. What do you think?
I've got to be the devil's advocate, and I really like the Fiddletown myself.
Yeah,
all right.
see?
All right.
Michael's my guy.
So Joe, I'm just going to reach around you here and plate up our Beurre Blanc.
Right?
All right.
All right. So walk us through these dishes again before I stuff them all in my face.
I'd love
Absolutely.
to. So
go ahead, Maria.
again, our surprise dish is Joe's fresh caught halibut, paired with a Beurre Blanc sauce, topping that off with a little bit of flaky sea salt. Next to it was the halloumi dish I was talking about. And the reason it pairs so beautifully with Zin is halloumi is a really salty, kind of meaty cheese, and it just really matches a lot of the body of the Zin, and contrasts the jamminess that we love so much. Up here on this beautiful slat is our ribs with a barbecue sauce made of blackberries. Sourced from nearby. Richie can't help himself. He's already has one in his hand and he's chewing on it. Can't blame him.
Do you have Chardonnay in your glass?
I'll do that.
There you go.
So, do a little Chardonnay with the halibut, and we'll see how that goes together.
Well, we won't get
So,
you.
a beurre blanc sauce, if I didn't mention it earlier, really heavy butter note to it, a little bit of fresh lemon zest on the top there to give that nice citrus note going. The Chardonnay is going to be a perfect pairing for that. That creamy vanilla note is really going to stand out against that nice bright acidity of the dish there and the nice flaky fresh caught halibut.
All right,
Reviews?
I'm going to grab another fork.
Go
and
ahead,
try
take
the
a bite
halibut.
yourself
All right,
too.
he's going to try the halibut now.
One little bite.
So this is the most exciting part for everybody at home who can't actually eat any of the food that they're seeing.
And like Joe mentioned, you can find these recipes on our website. I think right now it's linked through the homepage through the virtual tasting tab.
And then last
So the
one.
halibut with the Chardonnay is going to be... Sorry, guys.
Richie approves of the halibut and Chardonnay pairing.
He's good with it, I think.
Quite amazing. It's just got the right amount of salt. Was that lemon rind on it? Was it?
Yeah, a little bit of lemon zest on the top. Yeah.
Just like, because this, the 18 Chardonnay has a little bit of like a lemon curd character to it from a particular French oak we use, so there's that complementary flavor, but that amount of salt with the fish, and it's so fresh, it just, wow. Good job, man.
Perfect.
Oh yeah,
Good job. Thank you.
great job, Joe.
All right.
All right. Halloumi.
Yeah.
One more dish to try. Grilled
gonna go
vegetables,
ahead.
grilled
Talk about the
halloumi.
ribs because I just tucked into them. The ribs
So
are...
this is a fresh glass of Zin for,
There you go.
No, it's all right.
that yours there?
That's mine there.
okay.
That blackberry sauce you have on them with that, there's always a very strong dark blackberry flavor that we get from the El Dorado vineyard. And that makes up, was it 42% of the blend? Was that correct?
Yes,
Got it.
42 and 32.
42 and 32. But you get that depth and weight from those olive vine vineyards that we have up here that we source in Amador County. And so that blackberry flavor, and obviously pork, I mean, God,
Yep.
you can't get wrong with ribs, right? They always taste good. It's just that you've got enough complementary flavors but enough offsetting one another to make it perfect. So, sorry everybody watching, but the ribs are amazing.
Well, go online, get the recipe off rombauer.com, and go ahead and follow
Make it
along.
tomorrow night.
Yeah. So,
And then the halloumi.
I might suggest the fork for that. I probably could have helped you out.
Yeah.
But
It's all good.
just
Richie,
kind of give it a good
I've got a
stab.
pile of forks
Yeah,
here.
Yeah.
right on. Come on, mate, you got to get in. Don't leave me alone.
Don't leave you alone. We're just like the pigs on the side eating.
It's a bit of a worry when the chefs aren't getting amongst it. Come on, guys, don't be shy.
You know what? I wanted to try the halibut real quick, but
What's that there?
that is the onion preserve. So cooked down with a little bit of sugar, tiny bit of acid, and some thyme.
It's because of the halloumi's, salty cheese. That sweet salty combination.
Come on, Joe, get amongst it.
all right.
Come
okay.
on,
You
don't be
gotta have that with
Don't be
any
rude.
of
Twist
the
my
wines.
arm.
We're not all here for photography.
Here.
Come on. I'll hold it for you. Grab a fork. Come on.
Oh, I think I got to get a spoon, though. We're out of forks.
Oh. You'll make it work.
Awesome. This is the best part for everybody watching at home. They're like, I'm watching them
Yeah.
just sit back and
No.
eat all this delicious food and drink all this delicious wine.
Normally we're back there tasting people through the wine, but never enjoying the foods. This is a nice
Actually,
change.
little
all
change
the
of
live
pace.
streams we've done, we've never actually got to eat the winemaking team. We've always talked about food, imagined food, licked our lips, but never actually got to try any. So this is an incredible treat, and to have it freshly cooked and that.
What can I get you, Maria?
I would love some Zin. I just want
Zin?
to check in with
let's do it.
that
Very
pairing
good.
over here. Thank you so much.
So I guess we're coming to the end. So
Joy wine.
that pretty much concludes what we've got today in terms of our live stream. But I have to get closer to the mic. I'm sorry, so I'm just going to face this way. But the next live stream we'll be doing will be the end of July. It'll be July 25th, and it'll be 3 p.m. And this will be a very special one. This will be our Joy of Wine event. So usually for Rombauer every year we have our annual Joy of Wine, which is our Chardonnay release, and it's in St. Helena. But this year, with the way the world is, we're going to be doing this virtually. So on July 25th at 3 p.m. you'll be able to tune in exactly where you are today on YouTube and Facebook.
And you'll be able to join the Rombauer family, and this is a very special Joy of Wine for us because it's going to be the 40th anniversary. So this year is our 40th year as a company making wine. So this is the big one. So it's going to be live. We're going to have the whole Rombauer team there. They're all staring at me over here. I'm going to make sure I get this right.
Jumping for joy.
Obviously, we're going to do a bunch of tastings. It's going to be quite a long event, so I suggest you get online and buy some Rombauer wine because we'll probably go through quite a few different ones. We're going to have food pairings. We're going to have live music. We're going to have some special guests. I know we've got some celebrity chefs who have done some dishes for us. And you can visit rombauer.com and you can tune in and register there. So I hope you'll be able to join us July 25th at 3 p.m. for our annual Joy of Wine, which will be virtual this year, and I can't wait. So thanks for joining us today.
Cheers to that.
Here's to Rombauer wine.
Yeah, let's
Cheers,
do
guys.
Cheers.